She was born into darkness. Not the kind that comes when you close your eyes, but a permanent kind. A forever kind. The doctors told her parents the news just hours after she came into this world. Their baby girl would never see. Not the sky, not the trees, not their faces, nothing. Her name was Maya, and she grew up in a small town where everyone knew everyone. The kind of place where news traveled fast, and people talked even faster. From the very beginning, Maya was different, and in a small town, being different was never easy. Her parents did everything they could to give her a normal life. They read to her every night. They described the world in words, painting pictures with their voices. Her mother would say things like, "The sunset today looks like someone spilled orange juice across the sky." Her father would tell her, "The snow is falling so softly. It looks like the clouds are sending down tiny white feathers." Maya loved these descriptions. She would close her eyes, even though it made no difference, and try to imagine what these things looked like. But deep down, she knew she was only guessing. She would never truly know. School was hard. Not the learning part. Maya was smart. She picked things up quickly, and her memory was sharp. The hard part was the other kids. Children can be cruel, especially when they don't understand something, and most of them didn't understand Maya. Some kids whispered about her when she walked by. Others made fun of the way she used her hands to feel things. A few even played mean tricks on her, moving her belongings when she wasn't paying attention, just to watch her struggle to find them. Maya never cried in front of them. She saved her tears for home, for her pillow, for the quiet moments when no one else could hear. But there was one thing that made everything better. One thing that made her feel like she wasn't broken. One thing that made her feel alive. Music. It started when she was just 4 years old. Her grandmother lived with them, a kind woman with gentle hands and a soft voice. In the corner of her grandmother's room sat an old piano. It was nothing fancy. Some of the keys were chipped, and it hadn't been tuned in years. But to Maya, it was magic. One afternoon, while her parents were busy in the kitchen, Maya wandered into her grandmother's room. She had heard the piano before. Little melodies her grandmother would play from time to time. But she had never touched it herself. That day, something pulled her toward it. She reached out, her small fingers brushing against the keys. She pressed one. A sound rang out, clear and bright. She pressed another, then another. Before she knew it, she was playing. Not a song, not yet, just sounds. But those sounds felt like friends. They didn't judge her. They didn't whisper behind her back. They just existed. Beautiful and pure, waiting for her to discover them. Her grandmother found her there an hour later, still sitting at the piano, still pressing keys, still lost in her own little world. Instead of telling her to stop, her grandmother sat down beside her. She took Maya's tiny hands and placed them on the keys in the right position. Then she played a simple melody and asked Maya to repeat it. Maya did, perfectly, on the first try. Her grandmother's eyes went wide. She played another melody, more complex this time. Maya repeated that one too. It was like the music went straight into her ears, down into her heart, and out through her fingers. She didn't need to see the keys. She could feel them. She could hear where each note lived. From that day on, the piano became Maya's whole world. While other kids played outside, she practiced. While other kids watched television, she learned new songs. Her parents couldn't afford lessons, so she taught herself. She would listen to songs on the radio and figure them out note by note. She would hear a melody once and be able to play it back within minutes. By the time she was 10, she could play pieces that most adults couldn't master. By 12, she was composing her own simple tunes. The piano was her voice when words failed her. It was her way of expressing all the things she felt but couldn't say. But outside of her home, Maya was still the blind girl. The one people felt sorry for. The one people underestimated. Teachers spoke to her slowly, as if she couldn't understand normal speech. Classmates offered help she didn't need, then acted annoyed when she politely declined. She was either invisible or too visible. There was no in between. High school was supposed to be a fresh start. New building, new teachers, new students from other middle schools who didn't know her story. For a brief moment, Maya allowed herself to hope. Maybe things would be different. They weren't. Within the first week, everyone knew about the blind girl. The stares returned. The whispers returned. The loneliness returned. Maya kept her head down and focused on her studies. She joined no clubs. She attended no events. She went to school, came home, and played her piano. That was her life. Then one day, everything changed. It was a regular Tuesday when Maya's only friend, a quiet girl named Beth who sat next to her in English class, mentioned something during lunch. "Did you hear about the talent show?" Beth asked. Maya shook her head. She didn't pay attention to school announcements. They were never meant for someone like her. "It's next month," Beth continued. "First place wins $500. And get this, a local TV station is going to film it. The winner might even get on the news." Maya shrugged. "That's nice." Beth was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that Maya didn't expect. "You should enter." Maya almost laughed. Almost. "Me? Enter a talent show? Why not? You're the most talented person I know. The way you play piano, Maya, it's not normal. It's like the music is alive when you play." Maya felt her cheeks grow warm. She wasn't used to compliments. "I can't get up on a stage in front of hundreds of people. I wouldn't even know where to walk. I'd probably trip and fall and everyone would laugh." Beth grabbed her hand. "I'd help you. I'd walk you to the stage myself. And once you start playing, no one will be laughing. Trust me." Maya wanted to say no. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was a bad idea. She had spent her whole life trying to blend in, trying not to draw attention to herself. Entering a talent show was the opposite of that. It was putting herself out there for everyone to see, to judge, to mock. But there was another part of her. A small, quiet part that she usually kept buried. That part was tired of hiding. Tired of being afraid. Tired of letting other people's opinions control her life. That part wanted to be seen, not as the blind girl, but as something more. That night, Maya sat at her piano for hours. She didn't play anything in particular. She just let her fingers wander across the keys, thinking about what Beth had said. Could she really do this? Could she really stand on a stage and perform in front of everyone? She thought about all the times she had been laughed at, all the times she had been pitied, all the times she had wished she could show people who she really was inside. Maybe this was her chance. Before she could change her mind, Maya made a decision. Tomorrow, she would sign up for the talent show. She didn't know what would happen. She didn't know if she would succeed or fail. But for the first time in her life, she was going to try. And that decision would change everything. The next morning, Maya woke up with a knot in her stomach. The courage she had felt the night before was already starting to fade. Doubt crept in like cold air through a cracked window. What had she been thinking? Her, on a stage? In front of the whole school? But she had made a promise to herself. And Maya was not someone who broke promises. Beth met her at the front entrance of the school, just like she did every morning. She could tell something was different about Maya today. There was a nervousness in the way she walked, a tension in her shoulders. "You okay?" Beth asked. Maya took a deep breath. "I'm going to do it. I'm going to sign up for the talent show." Beth squealed so loud that people nearby turned to look. She grabbed Maya's arm and squeezed it. "Are you serious? Oh my God, Maya, this is amazing. I knew you'd do it. I just knew it." Maya couldn't help but smile. Beth's excitement was contagious. For a moment, she felt like maybe this wasn't such a crazy idea after all. They walked together to the main office where the sign-up sheet was posted. Beth read out the names of other students who had already signed up. There were singers, dancers, a comedy group, and even someone who was going to do magic tricks. Maya felt her heart beating faster with each name. "Ready?" Beth asked. Maya nodded. Beth guided her hand to the right spot on the paper, and Maya wrote her name. It was done. There was no going back now. The news spread through the school like wildfire. By lunchtime, everyone seemed to know that the blind girl had signed up for the talent show. And not everyone was kind about it. Maya heard the whispers in the hallway. She couldn't see the looks people gave her, but she could feel them. Some were curious. Some were sympathetic. But others were cruel. "Is this a joke?" she heard one girl say to her friends as Maya walked past. "What's she going to do? Bump into the piano?" The group laughed. Maya kept walking, pretending she hadn't heard. But the words stung. They always did. It got worse as the days went on. A group of popular girls seemed to find the whole thing hilarious. They would make comments whenever Maya was nearby, loud enough for her to hear but quiet enough to deny if confronted. I feel bad for her, honestly. Someone should tell her she's going to embarrass herself. Maybe she thinks people will clap just because they feel sorry for her. This is going to be so awkward to watch. Maya tried to ignore them. She tried to focus on her music, on her goal, on the reason she had signed up in the first place. But their words followed her everywhere. They echoed in her mind when she tried to sleep. They played on repeat when she sat down at her piano. Even some of the teachers seemed unsure about her decision. One afternoon, Maya overheard a conversation between two teachers in the hallway. They didn't know she was there. Or maybe they didn't care. "I heard the blind girl signed up for the talent show," one of them said. "Yes, I saw that. I'm not sure it's a good idea. What if something goes wrong? What if she falls on stage? It could be traumatic for her. Someone should talk to her mother, maybe convince her to withdraw. It's for the girl's own good." Maya stood frozen in place. For her own good. Those words hit her like a punch to the chest. Even the adults thought she couldn't do it. Even the people who were supposed to believe in their students had already decided she would fail. That night, Maya sat at her piano, but couldn't play. Her fingers hovered over the keys. But nothing came out. For the first time in her life, the music wouldn't come. It was like a wall had gone up between her and the instrument she loved. Her mother noticed something was wrong. She came into the room and sat down on the bench next to Maya. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. "Tell me what's going on," her mother finally said. Her voice was gentle, patient. Maya felt the tears she had been holding back start to fall. "Everyone thinks I'm going to fail. The kids at school laugh at me. Even the teachers think I shouldn't do it. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just fooling myself." Her mother didn't respond right away. She just sat there, letting Maya cry, letting her get it all out. When the tears finally slowed, her mother took her hand. "Maya, can I tell you something?" Maya nodded. "When you were born, and the doctors told us you would never see, I cried for 3 days straight. I was so scared for you. I kept thinking about all the things you would never be able to do. All the ways the world would be hard for you. I was so focused on what you couldn't do that I almost missed what you could." She paused, squeezing Maya's hand tighter. "But then I watched you grow up. I watched you learn to navigate the world in your own way. I watched you teach yourself to play piano in a way that most people with perfect vision could never dream of. And I realized something important." "What?" Maya whispered. "The world will always tell you what you can't do. People will always have opinions about your limits. But only you get to decide what you will do. Only you get to write your story. Not them. You." Maya sat with those words for a long time. She thought about all the years she had spent trying to be invisible. All the time she had shrunk herself to make others comfortable. All the dreams she had pushed aside because she was afraid of what people would think. She was tired of being afraid. "Mom," she said slowly, "I don't want to just play some song that everyone's heard before. I want to do something different, something that's really mine." Her mother smiled. Maya couldn't see it, but she could hear it in her voice. "What do you have in mind?" "I want to write my own piece, something original, something that shows people who I really am." It was a bold idea, maybe even a crazy one. Maya had composed small melodies before, but never a full piece. Never something meant to be performed in front of hundreds of people. She had less than a month to create something from nothing, but for the first time since she had signed up, Maya felt a spark of excitement. This was her chance to prove everyone wrong. Not by playing someone else's music, but by sharing her own. By letting people hear what the world sounded like through her ears. By showing them that being different wasn't a weakness, it was a gift. That night, after her mother went to bed, Maya stayed at the piano. She placed her fingers on the keys and closed her eyes. She thought about her life. The darkness she had lived in since birth, the sounds that had become her colors, the music that had become her light. And then, slowly, a melody began to form. Just a few notes at first. Simple, quiet, but real. It was the beginning of something. She didn't know what it would become yet, but she knew it was important. She played those notes over and over, letting them sink into her memory. This was hers. This was her voice. And soon, the whole world would hear it. Maya didn't know what the coming weeks would bring. She didn't know if she would succeed or fail. But she knew one thing for certain. She was done letting fear control her life. She was done listening to people who didn't believe in her. She was going to write her own music, tell her own story, and stand on that stage with her head held high. And whatever happened after that, at least she would know she tried. For the next 3 weeks, Maya barely slept. Every spare moment she had was spent at the piano. Before school, after school, late into the night, when the rest of the house was quiet, the music consumed her in a way nothing ever had before. She decided to keep her composition a secret. She didn't want anyone to hear it until it was finished. Not her parents, not Beth, not even her grandmother. This was something she needed to do alone, something that had to come purely from her heart. The first few days were the hardest. Maya would sit at the piano for hours, playing the same few notes over and over, trying to figure out where the melody wanted to go. Sometimes it felt like the music was hiding from her, like it was just out of reach, waiting for her to find it. She thought about what she wanted the piece to say. What story did she want to tell? What did she want people to feel when they heard it? And then it came to her. She wanted to show them what it was like to be her. To live in a world without sight. To experience everything through sound and touch and feeling. She wanted to take them on a journey through darkness and show them that darkness wasn't empty. It was full of things most people never noticed. She called the piece Through Her Eyes. It was a strange title for a song written by someone who couldn't see. But that was exactly the point. Maya wanted people to understand that seeing wasn't just about using your eyes. It was about paying attention. It was about feeling deeply. It was about finding beauty in places others overlooked. Once she had the idea, the music started to come faster. She would hear melodies in her head at random moments. In the middle of class, while eating dinner, while lying in bed trying to fall asleep, she would hum them quietly to herself, memorizing each note until she could get back to the piano and play them out loud. The piece began softly. Gentle notes that floated like whispers. This was the beginning. The quiet darkness she had known since birth. It wasn't scary or sad. It was peaceful, like being wrapped in a warm blanket. Like the world before the sun rises. Then the melody grew. New notes joined in, creating layers of sound. This was Maya, discovering music for the first time. The wonder of hearing a piano. The magic of realizing she could create something beautiful with her own hands. The notes danced and swirled, playful and curious. But then came the hard part. The part that made Maya's chest tight every time she played it. The middle section of the piece was darker, heavier. The notes clashed against each other, creating tension and discomfort. This was the pain. The loneliness, the cruel words from classmates, the feeling of being different in a world that didn't understand her. Maya poured everything into those notes. All the times she had cried alone in her room. All the times she had wished she could just be normal. All the times she had felt invisible and worthless and broken. The music captured it all, raw and honest and real. But the piece didn't end there. Maya refused to let it end in darkness. Because that wasn't her story. Her story was about finding light, even when you couldn't see it. The final section of the piece was the most beautiful thing she had ever written. The heavy notes faded away, replaced by something new. Something hopeful. The melody soared, lifting higher and higher until it felt like it could touch the sky. This was Maya finding her strength, finding her voice, finding the courage to stand up and be seen. The last few notes were soft again, but not like the beginning. These notes were peaceful in a different way. They were the peace that comes after a storm, the quiet confidence of someone who has faced their fears and come out stronger on the other side. When Maya played the full piece for the first time, from beginning to end, she was shaking. Not from fear, but from the power of what she had created. She had taken her entire life, all her pain and joy and hope, and turned it into music. It was the most personal thing she had ever done. Beth could tell something was going on. During lunch, she would ask Maya about the talent show, about what she was planning to play. But Maya just smiled and said it was a surprise. Not even a hint? Beth would ask. Not even a hint. Beth pretended to be annoyed. But Maya could hear the excitement in her voice. Her friend believed in her. That meant more than Maya could ever say. At home, Maya's parents noticed the change in her too. She was different somehow. More focused. More determined. They heard her playing late at night. The same piece over and over. But they respected her privacy. They knew she would share it when she was ready. The only person Maya considered telling was her grandmother. The woman who had first shown her the piano. The woman who had believed in her gift before anyone else. One evening, just a few days before the talent show, Maya went to her grandmother's room. The old woman was sitting in her chair by the window, humming softly to herself. She always seemed to know when Maya was nearby. "Come sit with me," her grandmother said. Maya walked over and sat on the small stool next to the chair. For a moment, they just sat together in comfortable silence. "You've been working hard," her grandmother said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Maya admitted. "I wrote something. Something new." For the talent show, her grandmother reached out and took Maya's hand. Her skin was thin and soft, like paper. "Will you play it for me?" Maya hesitated. She hadn't played it for anyone yet. The thought of someone else hearing it made her nervous. What if it wasn't good enough? What if her grandmother didn't like it? But this was her grandmother. The person who had started her on this journey all those years ago. If anyone deserved to hear it first, it was her. "Okay," Maya said quietly. "But promise you'll be honest with me. If it's not good, I need to know." Her grandmother smiled. "I promise." They went to the living room together. Maya sat down at the old piano, the same one she had first touched when she was 4 years old. She positioned her fingers on the keys and took a deep breath. Then she began to play. The music filled the room, soft at first, then building, then falling, then rising again. Maya lost herself in the notes, forgetting that anyone was listening. She played from her heart, letting every emotion pour out through her fingers. When the last note faded into silence, Maya sat completely still. She was afraid to move. Afraid to hear what her grandmother would say. The room was quiet for a long moment, too long. Maya felt her heart pounding in her chest. Then she heard something that made her freeze. Her grandmother was crying. Not loud sobs, but soft, gentle tears. The kind that come when words aren't enough. Maya panicked. "Grandma? What's wrong? Was it bad? I can change it. I can—" "No." Her grandmother's voice was thick with emotion. "Don't change a single note. Not one." She got up from her chair and walked over to where Maya sat. She placed her wrinkled hands on Maya's cheeks, holding her face gently. "Child," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "you have written something that will change people. Something that will make them see the world differently. This isn't just music. This is a gift." Maya felt tears streaming down her own face now. She had hoped the piece was good. She had believed it meant something. But hearing her grandmother say those words made it real. In just a few days, She would stand on a stage in front of hundreds of people. She would play this piece, her piece, and share her soul with the world. She didn't know if she was ready. She didn't know if she would ever be ready, but she knew she had to try. The morning of the talent show arrived like any other morning. The sun came up. Birds sang outside the window. The smell of coffee drifted through the house. But for Maya, nothing about this day felt ordinary. She had barely slept the night before. Every time she closed her eyes, she imagined herself on stage. Sometimes, the images were good. She played perfectly, and everyone cheered. But other times, the images were terrifying. She tripped walking to the piano. She forgot the notes. People laughed and pointed. By the time her alarm went off, Maya had already been awake for hours. She went through her morning routine slowly, trying to calm her racing heart. Shower. Get dressed. Brush her hair. Each small task helped keep her mind from spinning out of control. Her mother had laid out a special outfit for her the night before. A simple blue dress that Maya had worn to her cousin's wedding last year. Her mother said it made her look elegant. Maya couldn't see it, but she trusted her mother's judgment. At breakfast, no one talked about the talent show. Her father made pancakes, her favorite, and told silly jokes like he always did. Her mother chatted about the weather and the neighbor's new dog. They were trying to keep things normal, and Maya loved them for it. But her grandmother knew better than to pretend. When Maya finished eating, the old woman called her over and pressed something small and cold into her hand. "What is this?" Maya asked, running her fingers over the object. It was a necklace, a thin chain with a small pendant shaped like a musical note. "It was mine when I was young," her grandmother said. "I wore it when I performed in my first recital. Many, many years ago. It brought me luck. Now I want you to have it." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "Grandma, I can't take this." "It's yours, and now it's yours. Wear it tonight. Let it remind you that you come from a long line of strong women who never let fear stop them." Maya hugged her grandmother tight, breathing in the familiar scent of lavender and old books. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." The hours until the talent show felt like days. Maya tried to practice, but her fingers wouldn't cooperate. They stumbled over notes she had played perfectly 100 times before. She forced herself to stop. Overthinking would only make things worse. Instead, she sat in her room and listened to the sounds around her. Cars passing outside, the hum of the refrigerator downstairs, the distant bark of a dog. These sounds had been her companions her whole life. They grounded her, reminded her of who she was. At 5 o'clock, her mother came to tell her it was time to go. Maya's stomach flipped. This was really happening. The drive to the school was quiet. Maya sat in the back seat, clutching her grandmother's necklace in her hand. She could feel her heartbeat in her throat. Her palms were sweating. She wiped them on her dress again and again. When they arrived, Maya could hear the noise before she even got out of the car. Hundreds of voices. Laughter. Music playing from somewhere inside. The parking lot was full. People were streaming toward the entrance. Beth was waiting for them at the door, just like she promised. She grabbed Maya's hand as soon as she was close enough. "You ready?" Beth asked. Her voice was bright, but Maya could hear the nervousness underneath. "No," Maya admitted, "but I'm here anyway." Beth squeezed her hand. "That's all that matters." They made their way through the crowded hallway toward the auditorium. People bumped into them from all directions. Maya held onto Beth's arm tightly, letting her friend guide her through the chaos. Backstage was even more overwhelming. The air was thick with hairspray and nervous energy. Maya could hear other performers warming up. A girl practicing her high notes. A group counting out dance steps. Someone dropping something and cursing under their breath. A teacher with a clipboard found them and checked Maya's name off the list. "You're number 14, she said. "We'll call you when it's your turn. Good luck." Number 14. That meant 13 other acts before her. 13 chances to sit and worry and second-guess herself. Beth helped Maya find a quiet corner away from the chaos. They sat on the floor with their backs against the wall. Beth described what was happening around them. Who was wearing what? Who looked nervous? Who was acting too confident? The dance group is stretching like they're about to run a marathon, Beth said. And there's a guy with a guitar who keeps checking his hair and his phone camera. I think he's looked at himself about 50 times already. Maya laughed despite her nerves. Beth always knew how to make her feel better. The show started at 7 o'clock sharp. Maya heard the principal's voice boom through the speakers, welcoming everyone to the annual talent show. The crowd cheered. Then the first act was called. One by one, the performers took the stage. Maya listened carefully to each one. A singer with a powerful voice. A comedian whose jokes got mixed reactions. A dance group that made the floor shake with their stomping. The guitar guy Beth had mentioned, who actually turned out to be pretty good. After each performance, the crowd clapped and cheered. Some acts got standing ovations. Others got polite applause. Maya tried not to compare herself to them. She tried not to think about what would happen when it was her turn, but with each act that passed, her anxiety grew stronger. Her hands were trembling now. Her mouth was dry. She kept touching her grandmother's necklace, rubbing the small musical note between her fingers like a worry stone. Number 13, you're up. The teacher with the clipboard called out. One more act. Then it would be her turn. The next few minutes felt like hours. Maya heard music playing, then cheering, then silence, then more cheering. She couldn't focus on what was happening. All she could think about was what came next. Then she heard her name. Number 14. Maya. You're up. Beth helped her stand. Maya's legs felt like jelly. Her whole body was shaking. You've got this, Beth whispered. I'll walk you to the edge of the stage. After that, just follow the sound of the piano. It's straight ahead, about 20 steps. You know this piece by heart. You've played it 1,000 times. Trust yourself. Maya nodded, unable to speak. They walked together toward the stage entrance. Maya could hear the crowd on the other side of the curtain. Hundreds of people talking, laughing, waiting. In a few seconds, she would be standing in front of all of them. I'm scared, Maya admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Beth hugged her tight. Being scared means you care. Now go show them who you are. The curtain parted. Maya stepped forward. The moment she appeared on stage, the auditorium went quiet. But it wasn't a respectful quiet. It was an uncomfortable quiet. Maya could feel it in the air. The surprise, the confusion, the pity. She heard whispers rippling through the crowd. She couldn't make out the words, but she knew what they were saying. That's the blind girl. What is she doing? This is going to be awkward. Maya kept walking. She counted her steps like Beth had told her. 1, 2, 3. Her cane tapped against the wooden stage, the sound echoing through the silent auditorium. Somewhere in the middle of the crowd, she heard a muffled laugh. Someone shushed them, but the damage was done. Maya felt her cheeks burn with shame. 15, 16, 17. She was almost there. She could feel the piano now, sense its presence in front of her. Her fingers brushed against the smooth wood of the bench. She sat down slowly, carefully. The piano keys were cool under her fingertips. Familiar. Safe. The auditorium was completely silent now. 400 people holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen. Most of them expected her to fail. She could feel their doubt pressing against her like a physical weight. Maya thought about all the people who had laughed at her. All the people who had whispered behind her back. All the people who had told her she couldn't do this. Then she thought about her grandmother's words. You have written something that will change people. She thought about her mother. Only you get to decide what you will do. She thought about Beth, her best friend, who had believed in her when no one else did. Maya took a deep breath. She placed her fingers in position on the keys. She could feel her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst out of her chest. The silence stretched on. Someone coughed. A chair creaked. Maya closed her eyes. It made no difference to her vision, but it helped her focus. She blocked out the crowd, the whispers, the doubt. She thought only of the music. Her music. The piece she had poured her entire soul into. And then, with trembling fingers, she began to play. The first notes floated into the air like a whisper. Soft, gentle, almost fragile. They hung in the silence of the auditorium. Delicate as snowflakes, Maya's fingers moved slowly across the keys, finding each note with perfect precision. She didn't rush. She let the music breathe, let it fill the space around her. This was the beginning of her story. The quiet darkness she had known since birth. The peaceful world of sounds and feelings that had been her home for 17 years. In the audience, people shifted in their seats. Some were still skeptical, waiting for her to make a mistake. Others leaned forward slightly, curious despite themselves. A few had already stopped breathing. The melody began to grow. New notes joined in, layering on top of each other like colors blending on a canvas. The music became playful, dancing and skipping like a child discovering the world for the first time. This was Maya finding the piano. The wonder of those first moments when she realized she could create something beautiful. A woman in the third row felt tears forming in her eyes. She didn't know why. She didn't even know this girl. But something about the music reached inside her chest and squeezed. Maya played on, lost in her own world. She had forgotten about the crowd. Forgotten about her fear. There was only the music now. Only the story she needed to tell. The piece shifted again. The playful notes faded, replaced by something darker, heavier. The melody turned minor, filled with tension and sadness. Chords clashed against each other, creating sounds that were almost painful to hear. This was the hard part, the loneliness, the cruel words, the feeling of being different in a world that didn't understand. Maya poured every ounce of that pain into the keys, every tear she had cried alone in her room, every whisper she had pretended not to hear. Every moment she had wished she could just disappear. The audience felt it. They couldn't help but feel it. The music was too honest, too raw, too real to ignore. People who had never experienced what Maya had experienced suddenly understood, just for a moment, what it was like to be her. A man near the back wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. He thought about his own daughter. How he sometimes took her for granted. He thought about all the times he had failed to really see her. The music made him want to go home and hold her tight. A teenage girl sitting with her friends felt her throat tighten. She had laughed at Maya in the hallway once. She had made a joke about the blind girl. Now, listening to this music, she felt sick with shame. She had never thought about what Maya's life was really like. She had never bothered to imagine. The heavy notes continued, building and building until it seemed like they might crush everything beneath their weight. Maya's fingers flew across the keys, her whole body swaying with the intensity of the music. Sweat beaded on her forehead, her heart pounded in her chest, and then, just when the darkness seemed like it would never end, something changed. A single note rang out, clear and bright, cutting through the heaviness like a beam of light through storm clouds. Then another note, and another. The melody began to shift, to transform, to rise. This was the turning point. This was Maya finding her strength, finding her voice, refusing to let the darkness win. The music soared higher and higher, filled with hope and courage and joy. It was the sound of someone choosing to stand up instead of stay down, the sound of someone deciding that their differences made them special, not broken, the sound of a girl who had spent her whole life in darkness finally finding her own light. Tears were streaming down faces throughout the auditorium now. People weren't even trying to hide them anymore. The music had broken through every wall, every defense, every barrier. It had reached into the deepest parts of their hearts, and touched something they had forgotten was there. Maya played the final section with everything she had. Her fingers danced across the keys with a freedom she had never felt before. She wasn't performing anymore. She was flying. She was free. She was exactly who she was meant to be. The last few notes came slowly, gently, like a whisper goodbye. They were peaceful, but not the same peace as the beginning. This was a different kind of peace. The peace of someone who has walked through fire and come out the other side. The peace of someone who has faced their fears and won. The final note hung in the air for a long moment. Then it faded into silence. Maya sat completely still, her hands resting on the keys. She was breathing hard. Her whole body was trembling. She had given everything she had to that performance. There was nothing left. The auditorium was silent. For one terrible moment, Maya thought she had failed. She thought the silence meant disappointment, boredom, pity. All her worst fears came rushing back, but then she heard something that changed everything. A single person stood up. Maya heard the chair scrape against the floor, heard the rustle of clothing as someone rose to their feet. Then another person stood, and another, and another. Within seconds, the entire auditorium was on its feet. 400 people standing, united in awe of what they had just witnessed. And then came the sound. Not just applause, a roar. A wave of clapping and cheering so loud that Maya could feel it vibrating through the stage beneath her feet. People were shouting, crying, calling her name. Maya sat frozen at the piano, unable to process what was happening. She had hoped for polite applause. She had prayed not to be laughed at. But this was beyond anything she had ever imagined. Beth came running onto the stage, not caring about the rules, not caring about anything except getting to her friend. She threw her arms around Maya and held her tight. "You did it!" Beth was crying and laughing at the same time. "Maya, you did it! Listen to them. They're all standing." Maya could hear it. She could feel it. The standing ovation went on and on, refusing to stop. People didn't want to sit down. They didn't want the moment to end. In the crowd, the girl who had made fun of Maya in the hallway was sobbing. The teachers who had doubted her were clapping harder than anyone. The popular girls who had whispered cruel things sat in stunned silence, unable to deny what they had just witnessed. Maya's parents were in the front row, holding each other, tears streaming down their faces. Her grandmother sat beside them, clutching the program to her chest, her old eyes shining with pride. When the applause finally began to fade, the principal came onto the stage. His voice cracked as he spoke into the microphone. He had been doing talent shows for 20 years. He had never seen anything like this. Maya won first place that night. But the $500 meant nothing compared to what she had truly won. She had won something far more valuable. She had won their respect, their understanding, their hearts. The story didn't end there. A local news reporter who had come to film the show couldn't stop talking about the blind girl who had made everyone cry. The segment aired that weekend. Within days, it had been picked up by national news. The video of Maya's performance went viral, viewed by millions of people around the world. Messages poured in from everywhere. People who had been moved by her music. People who had faced their own struggles. People who wanted to tell her that her story had inspired them to keep going. A month later, Maya received a letter. A prestigious music conservatory had seen her performance online. They wanted to offer her a full scholarship to study piano. Her dream of making music her life was coming true. But when reporters asked Maya what winning meant to her, she didn't talk about the money, or the fame, or the scholarship. She talked about something else. "For my whole life, people saw me as the blind girl," she said. "They saw what I couldn't do. They saw my limitation. But that night, for 4 minutes and 32 seconds, they finally saw me. The real me. And that's worth more than any prize." Maya never forgot the lesson she learned on that stage. The things that make us different are not things to hide or be ashamed of. They are the very things that make us who we are. They are our gifts, even when they feel like burdens. And sometimes, all it takes is the courage to share those gifts with the world. Sometimes, All it takes is one moment, one song, one chance to show people that being different isn't a weakness. It's a superpower.